Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the hidden stories and values behind coins you might find in your pocket change or old collections today. We've got something special. We're exploring the top 4 Kennedy half dollars that are in rusty or worn condition, and you won't believe what some of these coins are worth today. The Kennedy half dollar has been one of America's most iconic coins since it was first minted in 1964, honoring President John F. Kennedy after his assassination. Over the decades, millions of these coins were struck, and while most were circulated, some have survived in surprisingly interesting ways, including the rusty, worn examples that many people overlook. Even in rusty or bad condition, these coins tell a story, from their history and minting details to how collectors today value them in the current market. And today, we're ranking 4 of the most fascinating rusty Kennedy half dollars from the 1981 D to the 1997 D, highlighting what makes them collectible and how much they could be worth in real dollars. So, whether you're a beginner collector, a hobbyist looking to identify coins in your collection, or just curious about whether that rusty half dollar in your drawer could be worth more than 50 cents, this video is for you. We'll break down each coin's year, mint mark, condition, and potential market value, along with tips on how to spot coins that might surprise you. These 4 coins are not just pieces of metal, they are pieces of history. Each one represents a different era of the Kennedy half dollar series, showing how circulation, storage, and time have affected them. And while rust and wear usually lower a coin's value, in some cases, these unique characteristics make a coin stand out to collectors, giving it a hidden premium. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know everything about these top 4 rusty Kennedy half dollars, including which ones are just common finds and which ones could actually fetch a nice price in today's market. Let's dive in and see what treasures are hiding in the world of rusty Kennedy half dollars. Top 1. The 1991 D Kennedy half dollar. Even in rusty or badly worn condition, but some of these can still be worth money. So let's break down the history, why collectors care, what a rusty one is worth, and the market value right now in dollars. Let's go. The Kennedy half dollar was first minted in 1964 after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy as a memorial piece that Americans loved right from the start. The 1991 D version with the D mint mark for Denver was a business strike coin, intended for regular circulation, not special sets. It's made of a copper-nickel clad composition, no silver, and has a face value of 50 cents. 1991 was a big year outside the numismatic world. The Cold War ended, the first website launched, and pop culture exploded with music like Nevermind. And amidst all of that, the U.S. Mint struck millions of these coins. Around 15 million pieces from the Denver Mint alone. That's a lot, and that's why these coins aren't rare like older silver coins from the 1960s. Coins are graded on a scale from circulated, worn, to uncirculated and up through mint state, MS, levels used by professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC. Value increases big when a coin is well struck, not worn, certified and graded. But even rusty or damaged coins have a story and sometimes collector interest, especially if they show unusual marks, toning, or are rare grades. Okay, this is the part many of you want to hear: common, rusty, or worn, circulated coins. If your 1991 D half dollar has rust, heavy wear, or corrosion, it's still mostly worth face value, about 50 cents to a few dollars tops. Over 15 million were made. Most don't contain precious metals. In fact, many in average circulated condition are just worth slightly above face, about 76 cents on average high-grade and certified coins. Here's where it gets interesting. If a 1991 D uncirculated coin, MS65+, is certified by a professional service, MS65 might fetch around $11 to $25. MS66 around $25 plus. Some exceptional ones in MS67 or higher have sold for much more, even into the hundreds. And at the extreme end, a 1991 D in MS68 sold at auction for over $2,400. On-screen graphics showing price tiers. So condition matters more than the date or mint mark alone. Host on camera holding a rusty coin. If you've got a rusty 1991 D, here's the key. If the rust is just surface corrosion, it still may be worth more than face to a collector. If the rust has damaged details, luster and lettering, then it likely stays around face value or slightly above. Pro tip: clean coins can lose value if improperly cleaned. Don't scrub them with metal polish. Instead, ask a coin dealer or grader for advice. A 1991 D Kennedy half dollar is not inherently rare. Millions were made, but coins in top uncirculated or certified grades can be worth significantly more than face value. Rusty or worn examples are usually common in market value, but interesting too. collectors especially if they have unusual toning or features. Top 2. The 1984 D. Kennedy half dollar, even one in rusty or bad condition. But guess what? Some of these can still be really interesting to collectors and even worth money. In this video, we'll explore the history, why collectors care, how condition affects value, and what you might expect to see in the current marketplace in dollars. Let's jump in. The Kennedy half-dollar series began in 1964 as a memorial to President John F. Kennedy after his assassination, and has become one of America's most beloved coin series. The D Mint mark on your coin means it was produced at the Denver Mint. These coins are made of copper-nickel clad, not silver, and were intended for everyday circulation. They have a face value of 50 cents. The year 1984 was a big year globally, from music and movies to history and politics, and the U.S. Mint struck millions of these half-dollars that year. Around 26.26 million 1984 D. Kennedy half-dollars were produced at the Denver Mint. That's a lot of coins, so most of them are quite common in general circulation. Coins are graded on how worn or pristine they are. A coin in average circulation, especially one that's rusty, dirty, or heavily worn, is worth far less than a coin that looks like it just came off the mint press. Rust, corrosion, scratches, and wear all reduce a coin's collector value dramatically. But every coin can still tell a story. Even a rusty one can be a great learning tool for beginners. On-screen graphic showing grading from poor, uncirculated, mint state, graded. Let's break this down by condition, because that's the #1 factor in value: rusty/badly worn, circulated coins. Host, on camera holding a rusty coin. So you found one that's rusty or badly worn. Is it worth anything more than face? In most cases. If your 1984 D. Kennedy half-dollar is rusty, corroded, heavily worn, or damaged, it's usually worth about 50 cents to maybe a couple of dollars. That's because millions were made, and most circulated heavily over time. Even though collectors want nicer examples, rusty ones are generally common and trade near their face value. On-screen graphic: rusty/poor condition, $0.50 to $2 plus. Higher condition or uncirculated coins. Now for the exciting part. If your coin is in better condition, especially uncirculated, or even certified by a grading company like PCGS or NGC, the value goes up significantly. Here's a rough idea of what collectors might pay, depending on grade. 2025/2026 market estimates. Uncirculated or mint state grades. MS 63, $7, $9 plus. MS 64, $7, $19. MS 65, $16, $25 plus. MS 66, $60 plus. MS 67 and higher, hundreds or even thousands of dollars in top grades. On-screen chart with approximate values. In fact, a 1984 D in MS 67 plus grade sold for over $2,600 at auction, and top examples can be worth over $4,000 or even more in collector markets. So while rusty circulated pieces are generally not worth a fortune, pristine or certified examples can be surprisingly valuable, especially if they fetch high grades. If the coin looks mildly worn but interesting, keep it for your collection. If it's rusty or damaged, don't try cleaning it. Cleaning can reduce its value. If you suspect your coin is in great shape or unusual, consider getting it professionally graded. That's where the real value shows up. Always handle coins carefully. Oils from your fingers can damage them. The 1984 D. Kennedy half-dollar isn't rare in normal circulation. Millions were made. But rare examples do exist when you get into top grades or certain highly collectible versions. Even though the typical rusty one isn't rare, well-preserved mint state examples, especially those graded by professionals, are sought after by collectors and sometimes sell for big money. A 1984 D. Kennedy half-dollar in rusty, worn condition is usually worth around face value to a few dollars, but if you have one in great shape, uncirculated, or professionally graded, it can be worth tens, hundreds, or even thousands of dollars. The key is condition, and collectors pay big premiums for coins in top grades. Top 3. The 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with a D mint mark, especially one in rusty or bad condition. Is it rare, is it valuable, or is it just 50 cents? In this video, we'll explore the history, background, condition, and the real market value today in dollars. Stay till the end. You might look at your old coins very differently. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy after his assassination. It quickly became one of the most recognized and collected coins in U.S. history. The coin we're discussing today is the 1981 D. Kennedy half-dollar. The D Mint mark means it was struck at the Denver Mint. It has a face value of 50 cents. It is made of copper-nickel-clad metal, not silver. By 1981, Kennedy half dollars were no longer commonly used in everyday circulation, even though millions were still produced. The year 1981 was a turning point in U.S. coin history. This was one of the last years when Kennedy half dollars were made primarily for circulation before becoming mostly collector-focused issues in later decades. During this time, cash use was changing. Half dollars were being saved rather than spent. Many coins ended up stored away in rolls, drawers, and bank vaults. The Denver Mint produced millions of 1981 D half dollars, making them common in general numbers, but condition is where the story changes. You might be wondering, how can a Kennedy half dollar become rusty? Although these coins don't contain iron, corrosion, environmental damage, moisture exposure, and long-term storage in poor conditions can cause dark brown or reddish surfaces, rough or pitted textures, loss of shine and detail. Coins stored in damp areas, buried, or kept with reactive materials can look rusty, even if they are not true rust. Bad condition dramatically affects value, but it doesn't make the coin worthless. Here's the honest truth. The 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar is not rare by date alone. Millions were minted, and many still exist today. However, high-quality examples are much harder to find. Perfect strikes with full luster are scarce. Professionally graded coins in top condition are highly collectible, so while a rusty or heavily worn coin is common, exceptional examples are rare. Rusty or bad condition, circulated. Host, holding a damaged coin. If your 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar is rusty, heavily worn, corroded, scratched, or damaged, then its value is usually close to face value. Estimated value: 50 cents to $2 depending on appearance and collector interest. These coins are often kept as fillers or learning pieces for new collectors. B. Average circulated condition. If the coin shows wear but no heavy corrosion. Estimated value: $1 to $4. Collectors may pay a little more for clean circulated examples, especially if details are still visible. Uncirculated and high-grade coins. Now this is where values increase significantly. If a 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar is uncirculated, well struck, stored properly, professionally graded, MS63, MS64, $8 to $20, MS65, $25 to $40 plus, MS66 and higher, $100 to several $100s. Top-grade examples have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. This shows how condition matters more than age. Never clean a coin with chemicals, brushes, or polish. Cleaning removes original surfaces, lowers collector value, can permanently damage the coin. A naturally worn coin is always worth more than a cleaned one. Check the mint mark carefully. Look at the details on Kennedy's hair and lettering. Store coins in dry, protective holders. Separate damaged coins from high-quality ones. If you believe your coin is uncirculated, consider professional grading. Even common coins can become valuable in the right condition. The 1981 D. Kennedy half dollar in rusty or bad condition is usually worth close to face value, but it still has historical and educational value. Top 4. The 1997 Kennedy half dollar with a D mint mark, even in rusty or bad condition. Is it rare? Does it have collector value? And how much is it really worth in today's market? Let's explore the history, background, and real dollar value of this coin. The Kennedy half dollar was first issued in 1964 to honor President John F. Kennedy. Since then, it has become one of the most iconic coins in American history. The coin we're discussing today is the 1997 D. Kennedy half dollar. The D mint mark means it was struck at the Denver Mint. It carries a face value of 50 cents. It is made of copper-nickel-clad metal, not silver. By the late 1990s, half dollars were no longer commonly used in daily transactions, even though millions were still being produced. The year 1997 represents a modern era of U.S. coinage. Electronic payments were growing, and large denomination coins like the half dollar were slowly disappearing from everyday use. Despite this, the U.S. Mint continued producing Kennedy half dollars mainly for banks, collectors, long-term storage. Millions of 1997 D. Kennedy half dollars were struck, making them common in quantity but surprisingly scarce in top condition. You might ask how a modern coin like this can look rusty. Kennedy half dollars do not contain iron, but poor storage conditions can cause corrosion from moisture, environmental damage, chemical reactions with air and contaminants. These effects create a rough, dark, or reddish surface that people often call rust, even though it is technically corrosion. Coins kept in damp places, buried, or stored improperly often end up in this condition. By date alone, the 1997 D. Kennedy half dollar is not rare. Millions were minted, and many still exist today. However, rarity changes when we talk about condition. Rusty or damaged coins are common. Clean, uncirculated examples are much harder to find. Professionally graded coins in high mint state levels are genuinely scarce. This is why collectors pay attention to details rather than just the year. A. Rusty or bad condition coins. Host, holding a damaged coin. If your 1997 D. Kennedy half dollar is rusty, corroded, heavily scratched, or badly worn, its value is usually close to face value. Estimated market value: 50 cents to $2. These coins are typically kept as placeholders or beginner examples rather than investment pieces. B. Average circulated condition. If the coin shows wear but still has readable details and no major corrosion. $1 to $4 collectors may pay slightly more for cleaner circulated coins, especially if they have decent eye appeal. Uncirculated and high-grade coins, this is where the real money comes in. If a 1997 D. Kennedy half dollar is uncirculated, well struck, original surface intact, professionally graded, MS63, M64, $6 to $15, MS65, $20 to $40 plus, MS66 and higher, $100 to several $100s. Exceptional top-grade examples have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. This shows how dramatically condition affects value. Cleaning a coin almost always reduces its value using chemicals, brushes, or polishing. Removes original surfaces. Destroys collector interest. Permanently lowers resale value. A naturally worn coin is always preferred over a cleaned one. Check the mint mark carefully. Look for sharp details in Kennedy's hair. Examine lettering for weakness or wear. Store coins in dry holders. Separate damaged coins from high-quality ones. If you believe your coin is uncirculated, professional grading may unlock its full value. The 1997 D. Kennedy half dollar in rusty or bad condition is usually worth close to face value, but it still carries historical significance. However, high-grade examples can be worth serious money. Certified coins bring the highest prices. Condition matters more than age. So never ignore a half dollar, because the right one, in the right condition, can be far more valuable than it looks. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy learning about coin values, rare finds, and hidden money in everyday change, make sure to subscribe for more coin history and market value videos.